Many of you may have seen what happened last night on this show, and I have concerns that we had Ye, Fuentes, and Milo on the show. A lot of people messaged me beforehand saying, "Why are you having them on? What they're using you? They have an agenda." And this is
who's
funny.
they?
Who's they? No. But listen. They say they as in general people messaging me. They're using you, Tim. They're using you. And I said for all of them, why do you think people come on this show? Yeah. Do you think they're coming on because they love me and they want to hold my hand and smile and look at my face? Or do you think they're trying to promote a book? Do you think they're trying to get a message out? They're trying to promote their Twitter accounts. They have ideas they want to share. Of course, everyone's using everybody. I have guests on so we can make an interesting show. It's our business. They come on because it's an opportunity for them to share or sell or whatever.
I thought we were friends.
Think again. That's we're only having you on because you make us laugh.
Okay. I guess I'm
friends.
A clown.
So here's what I want to say, because right now there's a lot of stories. Trump is being told that he's got to denounce these guys. There was a story that popped up on Fox 5. Kanye West spotted in Frederick after storming off of podcast. Here's the potential scenario, to be fair. The scenario is they abruptly left the show. They were on it. Ye didn't like that I was not agreeing with him or that I was pushing back in any capacity, got up and stormed off. Milo and Nick, working for Ye, wouldn't stick around and left. Immediately, they called a charter company to schedule a private plane who was they were very lucky that a hot crew, it's what they're on the ground ready to go, was available nearby and was able to then dispatch a plane to Frederick that they could then get into within a couple hours notice. Entirely possible. My personal opinion, that sounds really, really crazy if that's the case. So when they stormed off the show, my first thought was that, okay, he stormed off the show. Then we talked about it and I said it was the perfect thing to do if you wanted to generate press. There's a story going around that Donald Trump met with Nick Fuentes, an anti-Semite white supremacist. That was all last week. First thing this week, we have this show. And I think it was the first thing Nick said on the show was that something about isn't it really them? And then immediately Ye gets up and walks out downstairs, smile on his face, eating cookies. Apparently, one of our guys here said that when they were leaving, he said something like, "I came, did the show, got what I needed. Now I'm done. I'm leaving." And so that made me wonder about what was the goal. It's possible, maybe I'm just thinking too much into it, that Milo wanted revenge on Trump. Milo was quoted as saying he invited Nick because he knew Trump would mishandle it in the press. He wanted to make Trump's life miserable. Trump is mishandling it in the press. The first thing out of, I believe it was the first thing out of Nick's mouth was, "But isn't it them?" And then Ye leaves right around the half an hour mark when we're at 100,000 concurrent viewers. And that said to me, they had to have planned this. Then I saw the video of them going to the Frederick airport, boarding what appears to be a super mid private jet right after the show, within a few hours. And I was like, how did they charter a private jet that fast? It is entirely possible they did. I know where the jet originated. We did some sleuthing to figure it out. What happened was about a half an hour's flight time away, a hot crew, this is what I'm told. It is entirely possible. These are by the experts in the private aviation. A hot crew was available. What they said was a plane nearby flew to Frederick, landed for about an hour, and then departed with them. It is entirely possible that they happened upon what's called a hot crew. That's what they said, meaning there were people on the ground working, ready to take off, but for no reason. The plane was not being used. Ye is a very powerful, wealthy individual. Perhaps he knows somebody and someone has his back. It's interesting considering everything he's been saying about how they're trying to arrest him and shut him down and silence him and censor him. But apparently he was able to get within 2 hours notice a super mid private jet to fly from here to Los Angeles with a crew active. I don't know what happened, but to me it sounds staged. It sounded like they knew in advance they'd be leaving. At least Ye may have.
That's not the vibe I got. I got that they seemed very genuine when they were here. I know Milo. I mean, he's a zany dude, but like he's looking for redemption. That's his path right now. And Kanye is grasping at straws to try and find someone to help him. And Nick was so kind the entire time he was here. Like I've heard stuff about him. I've seen him say stuff online out of context that's racist. But when you see him eyes to eyes, like the guy is looking for friends. Like he doesn't probably has lived in an environment where he didn't have a lot of friends. So what happened was you and Kanye were going back and forth and kind of interrupting each other. You mentioned at one point, Tim, you were holding your finger up, indicating you want to jump in, and he was like,
show.
And he's like, you want to say something, go for it.
Before the show.
Yeah, and even
so
I think
as soon
during
as the show started, his demeanor changed.
So you guys were kind of had an agreement, like we're going to kind of talk over each other, we're going to flow. But then when Nick chimed in and you interrupted Nick, Kanye's face dropped, and then he got out. He was like, you crossed the line. When you interrupt me, that's okay. When you interrupt Nick, I'm out.
Before the show, when we're doing pre-show and setting up, it was so different. Kanye said a few things. I pushed back, and he just had a smile on his face and he's nodding along like, whatever. The show comes on, and all of a sudden he's like, we went to Trump's dinner. I was invited first. I called Milo. So anyway, let's talk about anti-Semitism. And I'm like, whoa. Like, we were just talking before the show.
You know what happened? The first article.
He knew what the article was. We had the article pulled up pre-show. Mm-hmm. He mentioned Pence. He asked Fuentes about Pence and what Trump. I said, we'll use this story to launch the dinner and the controversy caused by it. And I'll ask you about how this dinner came to be. What do you think about it? What happened with it? And then what is Yay 24? And I was like, who am I kidding? We're going to get into the anti-Semitism stuff. I'm going to push back. Here's how it'll play out. Like, if you guys want to say something, I'm going to put my hand up and let you know I'm going to talk about this. And they're like, of course, no problem. Absolutely fine. And then as soon as the show started, all of a sudden it was like, oh, how dare you bring up this article? Right. Oh my.
Here's what I don't understand about that dinner that doesn't make sense to me. You do not get a +3 to meet with the president. I don't care who you are. That is not. Piers Morgan had a piece today that he won The Apprentice. He was, I think, the first winner of the Celebrity Apprentice. He was interviewing Trump at Mar-a-Lago. The Secret Service, basically gives you an anal swab before we're going to meet a former president, especially if you're dealing at Mar-a-Lago, which not that long ago was raided because there were concerns about things that are classified or whatever, top secret, so on and so forth. I don't understand how, if you're running for president and this is the scenario in your home, you're going to have dinner with anyone, and be like, oh yeah, bring your buddies, and not be paranoid, even just for security reasons. Who are these people? Are they spies? Are they so on and so forth? I don't understand that.
We struggle with this here. When we're bringing people in, we have to send this big long-winded email about who's allowed here, what this means, vetted by you, stuff like that. Now, I wouldn't say it's like we're that strict where we...
But you're not the president.
Exactly.
You're not a former president. It's absolutely beggars belief. And the other thing is, like, Cenk Uygur had a tweet about, like, this isn't a surprise. This is who Trump hangs out with, white supremacists. It's like, when someone's the president, you know exactly who they're hanging out with. You know every minute of their day, who they're having for dinner, and so on and so forth. It's not a big secret. Their schedule is very public and very known, and it's a very big deal. This is the president of the United States, in this case, the former president of the United States. So what Trump is saying does not cut ice with me. And what else is crazier to me, in all seriousness, his daughter converted to Judaism, right? So this is something that obviously, and I think one of his other kids married a Jewish woman. So the joke is like, what's the difference between a New York Times reader and Donald Trump? Donald Trump's grandchildren are going to be Jewish. It's like, if he has this in his family, for him to be like, well, oops, I didn't know, that's just confusing.
You think he just trusted Kanye and was like, if you want to bring whoever?
But why would you trust? But he just. I think, first of all, he has this boner for celebrities that is really demented. Because that explains why he's endorsing Dr. Oz, who believed Justice Smollett, who was for trans kid surgeries, who had the whole laundry list of very lefty ideas. Herschel Walker, who's just a football star for Senate. Like the love affair Donald Trump has for people who are blue checks is demented.
I think Ian's right about one thing, that this guy's looking for friends. I can't speak to the things that any of them have said in the past. Like, what I should say is, like, obviously they've said deplorable things, testable things. But what I genuinely believe is, we had Milo on this show a couple weeks ago, and he talked about supporting Trump. He talked about vengeance. He wasn't talking about this stuff. His focus was different. Then he gets involved with Ye, brings in Fuentes, and now all of a sudden this is like a particular component of his career or his personality. What I think happens is, when you cancel people, they go in the only direction they can.
Wait, I'm going to disagree, because I have receipts from Milo. Because when this all came out, I wrote a book about this. There's a chapter about Milo in my book on The New Right. I think Milo is very, very charming. He's very, very witty. He's certainly very intelligent. And of all the people who got canceled, the reason he got canceled, I think, was one of the more BS reasons. He was the victim of childhood abuse. He spoke out about it in a kind of tongue-in-cheek manner. I don't begrudge anyone who's suffered through something like that, how they should deal with the situation. And he was basically saying things like, okay, this is something that he was kind of rationalizing it. Like, I'm glad this happened to me at a young age, as opposed to being like, holy crap, I got my innocence taken from me at a time when it shouldn't have. So I think the fact that he was just like, get out, like everything's ruined for you because of something that had been done to him where he was innocent as a kid or teenager, I thought was really kind of over the top. And clearly it was like Al Capone going to jail because of income taxes. It really wasn't income taxes. They're just looking for an excuse to get rid of him. Yeah. But he did an article a couple of years ago with the Jewish Journal, because when this all came out, I'm like, I thought Milo was Jewish, because I remember this being a thing at the time when he pushed back about the Nazis about this. I sent hold on, let me pull it up. I got the DM here, and here's the article from the Jewish Journal. This is from 2019. And he was talking about this then, because this is with the Jewish Journal, and he had said, I'm quoting Milo here, let me get it out. He goes, he thinks the Jewish community and the Jewish lobby would be well served to not throw a gasket every time someone throws out what it may appear to be an anti-Semitic trope. And he says, this is quoting Milo, just like I don't like left-wing political correctness about women and blacks and Muslims, I don't like right-wing political correctness about Jews in Israel. So, and he said, people claim that really stupid things are anti-Semitic that are not really anti-Semitic, or they make more of a fuss about it than they need to. So at a certain point, he has been addressing this at least 2019, so 3 years ago.
What I mean to say is, if these guys were given an opportunity, if some, obviously it would never happen, but if you went to any one of these guys and said, we want you to be a brand ambassador for a big company to make you a lot of money, but you got to stay away from these subjects, they'd say yes.
Yeah, probably.
I think what happens is when people get love bombed, you'll get somebody who like starts getting a bunch of tweets where they're like, hey, I like what you're saying, keep saying more of it. And then they're going to start feeling good. They're going to be like, oh, I'm getting all this attention, building followers. And then some people are just going to say, like, these are people supporting me and I'm going to side with them. But there's an inverse to that. When you ban someone and they have nowhere to go and they can't get redemption, they will go to whoever is willing to accept them.
And on top of just the love bombs, it's the financial incentive. Because if people are getting paid because they have a following, now they're getting ad revenue or they're getting direct subscriptions, no matter what they're saying. If they're saying really cruel, evil things and they're getting paid for it, that's free speech. But also that can incentivize the continuation of the behavior. And it's kind of tough to dig out, especially if you get canceled. You're like, well, the only people that pay me are these people, and they only watch me because of this content. So let's do more of that.
When you get canceled, when you get censored, you get sent off to the far corners of the internet where a lot of people get radicalized. And people need to understand bad ideas need to be fought with good ideas. And we don't have this battle of ideas. We never had this battle of ideas, mainly because of centralized controllers, big tech intervening and saying, no, we don't like what you're saying. We don't like your political stance. Be gone. And then those ideas are never routinely challenged, routinely questioned. There's no pushback against them. And only in places where they fester and grow are these kind of larger elements that again, never see the light of public day. And I think this is why we need to debate. We need to argue. We need to, of course, create steelman arguments and question and debate everything.
This is another takeaway I had from last night. I love the YouTube as a platform. I've loved it since Steve Chen and Chad Hurley built the thing, and the third guy who I don't know the name of, sorry, dude. But last night conversation was not a conversation for YouTube in its current state. If you guys want to fix up your terms of service into a more free speech oriented thing, it would be. But when we have people on that there's a chance they might violate the terms of service of the platform, we got to go to another platform because we need to let those guys speak. Those people need to speak. And then let them, because if Kanye had went on for 30 minutes and then Nick responded for 20 minutes and they said all sorts of offensive things that YouTube would have stopped, we'd have a chance to rebut and talk about it and come to some sort of consensus that ideally we would all come out better people from.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.